I got saved inside there, they told me that all I had to do was accept Jesus into my heart and ask him to forgive me of my sins, and that he would no longer remember as far as the east is to the west. And I'm like, Jesus is in the sides? He's like, east side, west side? There's gangs up there, full gang west side. Like, but when his arms were stretched and they told me that's what that meant, I probably drank already, I probably smoked already, and I remember getting pulled over in January, and I had a little bit bag of weed inside the truck. I instantly just was like, I'm going back. That's when I knew, okay, this God is still with me.
Hi, welcome to New Beginnings Podcast. We want to welcome you to join us this morning, and we're super excited that you logged on. We're super excited that you are taking your time to continue to watch the podcast, the New Beginnings Podcast. We always start with letting people know what New Beginnings is. New Beginnings is a podcast that was birthed from Christ that allows us the opportunity to be able to bring Christ and share Christ with non-believers, even believers, or even if you've been walking with Christ for about 20 years. But New Beginnings is us being able to, we want to start a transitional house. And I believe that that is all fixing to take place sooner rather than later. And I believe that God is truly orchestrating. But through New Beginnings, we want people to hear true life testimonies and true life stories of how God can transform people's lives and how God transformed mine and all that God has done. And in our last episode, we shared about the multiple blessings that come from having this new life with Christ. And so today I have a special guest. What? And this one's really special because I said we were going to start bringing people on, but I wanted to start with somebody that's very, very dear to my heart, somebody that is very instrumental in my life. And we're going to go a little bit more into detail about how they had their encounter with Christ, but how to maintain their relationship with Christ. And that's what New Beginnings is so that you could hear multiple stories, because no story is going to be the same. Not everybody, and you heard last episode where we shared that our struggles aren't the same. So not everybody has the same testimony and not everybody has the same story. So we are going to introduce to you my one and my only, my ride or die, my best friend, my co-laborer in the faith, my better half, the ones I do life with at 150%. And it's so funny because people tell us all the time, where you see him, you'll see me. Where you see me, you see him. And without him, there's not a me. And without me, there's not a him. It's crazy, but it's so cool because we're always together. We don't do anything. I think we can go to the restroom without each other. That's probably the only thing. But
TMI right there.
Today we're going to interview my husband, George. So
hello, welcome. Thank you for inviting me as your first guest. I was honored when you told me, and you sent me the text message like, "Hey, I found the first guest." I'm like, "Cool, who is it? Are you available on Wednesday?" Fool, you know I'm available on Wednesday. So thank you for that. Was a very heartfelt. Thank you.
So what we want to talk about today is how, you know, in our previous episode, George shared of his time in being incarcerated and how he ended up at the chapel by accident, but it wasn't an accident by God. It was a setup by God, but God used that. And so we're going to go a little bit more in detail, not about the whole testimony, but about his relationship and his conversion and keeping his relationship, because we've heard our pastor tell us, you know, our pastor has told us it's easy to obtain, but it's harder to maintain.
Very.
And so we want to know how he kept his relationship with Christ, because we live in a real world
Yeah.
where there's real people with real problems,
All day.
and especially people like us coming from that type of lifestyle. Like, it just didn't happen from one day to the next, right? Like, you didn't get saved in the jail at the chapel, and then all of a sudden you became this godly man, right?
Yeah, no, nothing like that. When I got saved inside there, I got saved because at chapel they told me that all I had to do was accept Jesus into my heart and ask him to forgive me of my sins, and that he would no longer remember as far as the east is to the west. And I'm like, well, Jesus is in the sides. He's like east side, west side. And they
always do that.
Well, I'm just saying, like, I didn't know when they.
I think that's why I tell people all the time. That's why I married you. You made me laugh.
Yeah, well, he said, like, I no longer remember as far as the east is to the west. I'm like, damn, fool, there's gangs up there, fool, gang, west side. Like, but when his arms were stretched and they told me that's what that meant, that he no longer remembered as far as the east was to the west, that's how much he loved me, and that's the line. It's an infinite line of love that he gives to me. And I was like, okay, well, like, do you sign up? Do I need to put in a request for this? And
because I think there's like you're saying, I think, our podcast is to touch people who are non-believers.
Yeah.
Who
absolutely
were like at that, like the beginning stages of
I was
God,
like, yeah.
and the perception of what people think of who God is, what church is.
Well, I thought God was a church. I thought God was St. John's Catholic Church. Like, well, that's where I grew up in San Marcos, and that was the church that we went to, St. John's Catholic Church.
So that was God to you.
Yeah, I thought that's what God was. So, and then with the with the upbringing of the Catholic, I was like, yeah, I don't want any of God, because that's wild over there. But and then when I found, and they started talking about knowing God isn't a religion, meaning Catholics or Baptists or anything like
Pentecostal,
that,
Jehovah's Witness,
all
Methodist,
those are
Lutheran,
religions. I was like, oh, okay, that's a religion.
Yeah.
He said, I want you to have a relationship. And I was like, what do you mean, like a relationship? Like father-son relationship? He goes, exactly, father-son relationship. You always look for your father to help you and guide you, because you don't know.
And so you're having that conversation with someone in prison.
I'm having that conversation because
with the guy, that's the guy who...
one of the volunteers.
Yeah,
I'm having it with one of the volunteers because I didn't understand this. I was a true new believer. I was a true baby Christian. Like, I didn't...
You were a new convert.
Convert.
Yeah. Well, and
I hadn't even given my life into the Lord yet, because when they told me all I had to do was ask God to come into my heart.
Yeah.
I didn't want to do it in front of the 75 dudes who were at chapel. Like, nah, because I think we probably had just got finished.
Did he think it maybe made some people think like you're weak, or?
I don't think it was weak, because that didn't cross my mind. I thought it was fake, because you had holy rollers in the tank that's what they were, but yet they still betting on Sunday football. Like, and then they still gambling. We rolling dice inside the tank.
So you had this belief, or very religious belief, of who God was, and you thought that God was like your Catholic religion. And this man comes in and he starts to inform you of accepting Christ into your heart. And you get to that place of like calling and saying, God, I want to invite you, like what we tell everybody at the end of our podcast, is to accept Jesus Christ into your heart. And it doesn't make sense right away, because I think, for me too, when I thought that God was Pentecostal, like I thought he was very religious. Like I thought God was going to send me to hell for all of the bad. I was like, I mean, because that's all I was taught. Like, I knew, don't do this, don't do that, can't be this, can't be that. And I thought, oh yeah, God's not going to have any patience to deal with someone like me who's constantly messing up or living a bad life.
When I grew up and I went and I got all my sacraments with the Catholic Church, before I did that, I thought God was in that little box. Like, they're like, hey, go inside the box and tell him your sins. And I'm like, who? The priest. I'm like, oh, does he email Jesus? Like, how does he know? And then which door do I go in? Because I don't want to look at the dude. I always wanted the one where you would have that little slide and you ain't got to see it.
But it was kind of like what was taught to you, right? Like,
that's all I knew.
Because you went with your mom and your aunt,
my dad,
or grandma. Yeah. So it wasn't like you had a choice on your own. It's just kind of like what your family showed you.
Yeah.
And I think that's crazy because that's what my family showed me. Like, the church I went to they showed me, like, as a young girl, and then as I got older, and it was like, but I didn't know that who God really was, or I didn't know who God was or Jesus. I didn't know any of that.
Yeah, I didn't know any of that. And then when I went to chapel for the first time and I picked up those cigarettes, and it just sparked something. It just grabbed my attention.
Like, you felt something different.
Yeah, I was like, well, let me try this again. And I went back the following Monday. And then I went back the following Monday. And I'm probably like 5 or 6 Mondays in that I've already started going. And it was after that time where when I walked back to the dorm and I hit the shower before showers closed, I liked that feeling of that Monday. Like, I liked that feeling when I got out and I was walking the circle and I was right about to get into the dorm, and they said, just ask Jesus to be with you. And I'd be like, whew. They're like, where are you at? I'm like, I'm in D. And they would pop the door on D, and right before I walk in, I'd be like, Lord, be with me. And I felt like there was just a calmness amongst everything. I felt when I would come back from church, it was just a calmness on Monday. And I hit the shower, and
that's when you cried and you told God to come into your heart?
Yeah, because, like,
You put the man through the test. Like, what he told you, you implemented it.
He said all you had to do is ask him to come into your heart. And I knew I was, I didn't get emotional there, but it always just felt good. So when I invited him into my heart, I was in the shower and the water was beating off of my head. And, that's the only place. I'm on a wall where there's, I think, 16 other shower heads. And I'm sure there was probably like 5 or 6 other dudes taking a shower at the same time. And as I'm telling him this in the shower, like, I got emotional, and I didn't bawl out sob cry, but man, like, that was like, I'll remember that moment forever. Yeah. Because I just started leaking, man. Like, I just started crying, and tears started coming down, and here I am with the shower, a little steam coming on the top of my head and water just hitting my tears, and I felt like I was finally wanted. I was finally accepted.
Yeah, there it is.
I was finally accepted. I never got down with anybody because when I was in county jail, I had money on my books. My dad sent me a subscription to a newspaper, so I got a newspaper 6 days out the week, and an old school inside there. He was.
I love how you talk and tell your story, because they're like, "What does get down mean?" And like, so I know what you mean.
I didn't have to
roll with gangs.
I didn't have to roll with the
yeah.
gang. I didn't have to be a part of a gang to make it through. And not everybody has to be a part of a gang
because they go to prison.
It just, for some people it's easier because that's what they were looking for, the acceptance.
Yeah.
They were looking for a place. And there was an old school gang member inside there. He was Marcelian County, and he saw this. He saw I got mail. He saw I hit commissary every time. And he told me when I got back from court, he says, you're about to go. They're going to pick you up on chain. Chain means that they come and grab you in the midnight hour and say you're going to whichever facility that they're sending you to. And he says, don't do it. Don't join a gang. You may have to fight. That
man was sent from God.
Oh man, that was
because you got caught up in the system, right? Like,
oh yeah,
in the life that's inside the prison.
Yes, like he just it was an adamant warning of don't do it.
Yeah,
you don't need to do it.
It's almost like it like a loud voice to you that you were like you could hear that. Like,
I could hear his. I respected people. I always respected people. And he was an elder. Like I was 25 at the time, and he was probably in his 40s.
Yeah.
And he was a certified, like he was legit. And he told me, he was like, you don't need to. Matter of fact, let me tell you what's going to happen. He goes, wow. You don't need to. All they're going to do is expose you because you have money, because you have commissary, because he goes, it looks like there's people who love you. You get mail every day. He goes, you're going to have to fight. That's the inevitable part. You're getting into a gang was just part of a surrounding area.
Dang.
But him telling me that you're going to have to fight so that they see you're not weak.
I think that's why, too, you have like a heart for these men that are getting out of prison is because you were once there. And so for you, it's you meet a guy, he tells you to accept Jesus, you accept Jesus, and you try it, and that's when you like opened up your heart and said, God, I invite you into my life. Now, when you did that, obviously you didn't know because of your past and because of what your parents taught you of going to church, and you thought that's what God was a church or a building, and that was wrong, and you invite him into your life. I mean, instantly, it's not like instantly everything changed, right? No. Like instantly, I mean, it wasn't like you even knew about a Bible, right? Like,
yeah, I had the paperback Bible that was inside prison, and I think if I remember correctly, I think that was like a New King James version, and the New King James version was, I would try to read it, and it would sound like, come with thy, be with he, knoweth, recketh, and there was a lot of ithis in it, and I ain't gonna lie, I wasn't the most educated, and I could barely read sometimes, and I was like, I don't even know how to read this stuff, let alone read it and understand it.
Yeah.
So then they started telling me about different versions of the Bible, like some of them were easier to read, some of them were a little bit more relatable. And I reached out to my mom in a letter, and I said, can you send me NLT version is what they told me, which is a New Living Translation.
Right.
And when I read one of the guys' Bibles on the NLT, they took it all the weigheth and the things away.
Because I think that's the world doesn't know that either, because a lot of people don't know that, like, some people have never been locked up. I mean, there's people that watch and maybe they've never been to jail. They don't even know, they've never visited anybody in jail. But it sounds like, and now that I go into the prisons, that I know that they can give you one that, you know, is like that. But if you want a different Bible that's relatable and you can read and understand it, it sounds like you have to reach out to a family member, a loved one, or someone. Like, you don't just get these nice Bibles that you can, and if this is the way you have to learn how to maintain your relationship with Christ, because you can't, like, I mean, eventually you call out, you pray, you have your own personal relationship with him, and thank God that this man came in and informed you. It's kind of what I do now. Yeah. I go in there and I inform him, but I go and I see these women. I'm like, wow, where did you get that Bible? She's like, oh, I ordered it. Or, oh, there are ministries and organizations that they can send, but I think there's like logistics, like what you have to do in order to get those into there and into the inmates, like how that they can continue to grow spiritually.
The next step for me growing inside there was I thought a Bible was holy. Like,
oh gosh,
like don't touch it, don't bend the pages,
Yeah.
don't write on it. Like, you're probably going to hell if you write in your Bible and
highlight it.
Yeah, well, we didn't have highlighter. We had just black pen and blue pen and red pen. So for me was when he told me, hey, this Bible is like a diary for you and Jesus only.
Oh, wow.
Right as you read it, and it's not your thought because you would have never thought that, and something comes to mind, then write it inside there, and that's your love letter to God. And I was like, who told you can write in the Bible, dog? What's wrong with you? You gonna go to hell if you write in the Bible?
And then probably because, of course, I know for me, when I used to be wilding out and at the, going to parties and going to after parties and everybody go to the hotel afterwards, every hotel has one of those Bibles. I don't even know what kind it is. I don't even know if anybody ever reads it, but it's so crazy that they have those Bibles, but people take those pages out and people were rolling weed and making, like joints, paint, like that was back in my day. I don't know. Things are different now.
Back in our day too, there would be people that would roll,
You're like, oh my God, you're really going to go to hell.
Like you smoking the Bible, boy. Like
you're really going to go to hell.
I don't think I ever smoked the Bible, but at least not, I don't know.
I remember one time I think I heard my pastor say,
like, hey, Jesus. Like, I don't know.
Why don't you try doing these lines, like the lines in the Bible?
Yeah.
But, okay, so that's funny.
Okay, so they tell me about highlighting and underlining inside there. So little did I know, like, oh, wow, okay, cool. So as I'm reading my Proverbs and something was like it stood out to me, I would highlight it.
So somebody in there told you to read Proverbs, or like, what did they tell you, like how to start and how to read? Like, because a lot of people have that question all the time.
Yeah, I thought I was supposed to just start.
Like,
I thought I was supposed to start in Genesis, like you open up a book, right?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Who opens up a book in the middle and starts reading it? Like, you're gonna miss something.
Yeah.
Well, again, I didn't know that the Bible consisted of 66 books. So it's not like you're just opening it up in the middle and you're reading half of his story. No, you open it up in the middle and there's a book inside there. There's 66 books inside one book.
Yeah.
And when they told me to read the book of Proverbs, that it's like my breakfast. I should wake up every morning and read a Proverbs, because there's 31 of them, just like there's 31 days in the month.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. And he was like, hey, don't worry. If you miss tomorrow, you don't need to go back and reread it. Just start on the next day. Whatever the day is, like today is the 21st, 22nd? I don't remember. What's one of those days? So that's what proverb I would read. I would read Proverbs 22. And if I missed the 23rd, then I would read again on the 24th and go to Proverbs 24. And I was like, okay, cool. So I did it for the month. Now what do? I already read that book. He was like, well, go back on the first and reread it again. I was like, but I already read it.
Yeah.
And like, but you're always going to find something new
to read
when you reread it.
Right. So then when you got out of prison, let's fast forward a little bit, because now we know that like you started in there, and thank God for these nonprofit organizations and these people that have ministries that have a heart to want to go into the prison and tell people and show the love of Jesus Christ and help them so that when they get out, they can become, it's like almost like a pond of souls, like where, there's a scripture in the Bible. It says, that when I was locked up, you came and visited me. And that was Jesus telling, his disciples, like, when I was in prison, you came to see me. And he's like, when were you in prison? And it was like, when you do this to my people. And so when people have a heart to do that, they go in there and they go share the love of Jesus Christ. And, it's taking the gospel and feeding a multitude of people. Like, it's being able to share who God is and how God has transformed many of these ministries in people's lives, of, going back in there and telling them, hey, you're in a place where God can, speak to you. God, it don't matter where you're at, and you're not forgotten. But he did that, and thank God for those people, because then they planted a seed. They planted a seed inside of you, and then you get out.
I get out.
And then you had told us in your previous podcast, and I heard you say it a lot because I'm married to you, that a certain percentage of people keep, their Bibles. And I think it's like you said, like 1% of those people keep their Bibles. They keep their relationship with Christ. So you were that 1%.
Yeah, I got out on that Tuesday.
And because you were that 1%, I know that when you got out, because I didn't meet you as soon as you got out. It's not like you were coming home to me. It's not like,
yeah, we didn't know each other.
Yeah. So, and eventually you got out, and I'm sure there's a lot of people who were incarcerated, who have been incarcerated, that they want to get out and they feel like they've been locked up a long time. So a lot of them want to go back to do the same thing. Like, oh man, I missed my friends. Let me go back and just kick it with them a little bit. Or, oh, let me go say hi to all these people. And so it's not like you just come out and like, hey guys, I'm going to stay and I'm going to, I go to church now and I'm this man of God, and, everything is, peaches and cream and you're following Jesus. You got out and you hit rough patches, or you went through things. Were you ever like this God that was introduced to you? How did you continue to maintain that, like through the life pressures of, being locked up, or, whatever you were locked up for? Because there's people that are incarcerated that have been locked up for drugs, addictions, stealing and selling, or just selling dope, or multiple things.
Yeah.
How do you not go back to that? How are you going to like share that and tell them, like,
when I got out on a Tuesday, and that Sunday, I already had went to the church that the volunteers were at. So the volunteers that would go into the prison ministry, they said, hey, when you get out, if you're in the Austin area, this is the church that we go to. So I walked in to that church, but it was kind of like a mega church, or like a real big church. And I walked in and I was just a number. People... I walked
you felt
in
intimidated by all the people, like, hey, these people are great people, and here I am. I just got out of prison.
I just got out this week, and I go and sit down, and and it was crazy. But you said the temptations of the world, those hit me like a brick, like,
yeah.
And I get out throughout that week. I probably drank already. I probably smoked already, and I had just gotten out.
Yeah.
But at least I knew I had gotten out, and I didn't have no probation or paper, and I didn't have to go see no officer. So I thought I was free.
Right.
But all I was I just went back to where I came from. I go to that church on Sunday, and even the volunteer, I sat next to him, and they were doing communion that day,
mm-hmm.
and they gave these little cups, and it was juice inside there. And I was like, hey, is this alcohol? He's like, no, it's not alcohol. It's just a juice. And I was like,
yeah, you were like a real dude.
Well, I didn't know. I was like, dang, y'all give
like,
alcohol
is this like
because
the Catholic church?
Yeah, I was like, man, is this blood? Like, are we drinking blood or something? Like, no, it's juice or something. So I was like, okay, well, that was it. It was just a church for me to look forward to on Sunday.
But you wanted to go.
I wanted something because I didn't want to go back.
You were still looking for this God.
Yeah.
It's not like you were still looking for God. And then we heard and then after that, like, you went through the temptation. So you reverted back to your old habits. Not your old like what got you incarcerated. Like, you weren't doing the same thing, like selling again.
Yeah.
You were now just
but I was
recreational stuff, like doing.
I was drinking. I already was back at the club. I had a job. I had a car already. I had a apartment by this time, and we kind of fast forwarded. That was in October, and then November, and then December, and then January. And I remember getting pulled over in January.
Oh wow!
And we were on Riverside in Austin, and heading down to a buddy's house. and I had a little bit bag of weed inside the truck, and I instantly just was like, I'm going back. I'm going back. Oh my God, I'm going back. Like and I get pulled over, and they're like, hey, you got a headlight out? And I'm like, I do know I have it. I showed them my AutoZone bag. I was like, I'm actually going home to fix it right now. And they're like, all right, well, let me see your ID. And they run it. And they're like, you got anything to say? And I was like, I thought I wasn't going to snitch on myself, but I was like, yeah, I just got out of prison. And I don't know what to say, man. I was nervous. I had just gotten out, and he was like, all right. Go ahead and go, and they let me go, and I get to my buddy's house, and I grabbed that bag of weed, and I was like, here, dog, I can't do this no more, man. It wasn't worth it for me. Like, that small amount instantly put me back in fear that I was gonna go back.
Yeah.
And that's when I knew, okay, this God is still with me. I wanted something more. Then I'm at work.
Then you're at work. Hold on. Because we have to go into our next session.
Bro,
I know. I thought we were going to get through it. But honestly, like, I feel like there's so much richness that needs to be shared through this. And I think that the next part that these people need to hear a lot about, because I feel like what God has done in your life is a true testament, which God has done, because this is not even it. Like, we can't just give it all to them right now, because it has to go. And I know, but it's okay, because I know that you have a lot of friends, and they want to hear your story. They want to hear how God has changed your life. They want to know. And I know you have a lot of people around you, that even non-believers, that are, what they see and what they know today is not who you used to be, but they need to hear it. So sorry, guys, we're gonna catch him on the next one also, because we have a lot of stuff that I want to continue to share, but we never want to end a podcast without giving you that opportunity to know Jesus Christ. And maybe it's, maybe you're not incarcerated, maybe you're at a workplace and there's somebody at work telling you about this God and this Jesus. And the Bible says in Revelations 3:20, behold, I stand at the door and knock. God is using people to knock on the door of your heart. And you just heard from my husband, George Torres, that he said that all he had to do was open up his heart and allow God into it. And if that's you, all you have to do is say, God, I invite you into my life. And I really want to know that God the way George was saying. I want to know him personally for myself. I don't want to know that he's a building. I don't want to know that he's a church. I don't want to know that he's a religion. I want to know that he is God. I want to know who God is. I want to know him personally for myself. It's not about the do's and the don'ts, but it's about this loving God who is so gracious enough to give us a new beginning. And so Amen. If that's you, all you have to do is open up your heart and say, God, I invite you into my life. I want to make you my Lord and my Savior. I want to know you the way Nina and George talk about you. And he'll give you that new beginning. And so we will have to catch you on the next episode. Stay tuned. All right. Don't forget.
Don't like, follow, share, subscribe, and turn on your notifications.
Oh, snap.
And I'll see you next week.
See you later.